Moin moin and hello ladies and gentlemen, Donspektor here with another IEM review. And today I have for you something pretty new. I'm not even sure if it's out yet. Yes, with greetings from our friends at Roseselsa or Rose Techniques. I have the Photon Pro here. So as usual, disclaimer here, they have sent this over for review, but they have not asked or influenced me in any way to say anything positive or negative about their product, and really everything here is exactly how I found it. And as usual, we start with the quick packaging accessory. That's it. It's pretty small. Not sure if you can see it. It's basically the length of my index finger. My fingers are a bit longer though, but just compare for a random mouse. You can see it's a bit shorter than a mouse, and it's about the height of a mouse, so not really big. But the nice thing is you can literally just move it out like this. And the presentation again is really nice here, directly labeled. This is the ear tips, earphone in here, and the clip in here. So the clip is, as you can see, let me just remove everything here. Whoop, is a clip so you can put it on a cable and then put it on your t-shirt or something. I like to see that. As ear tips, we check out those later. And in here would be the actual earphone with the cable, which we will also check out later. But I guess let me get the ear tips now. So what I do like about the ear tips included here, you can see this is 4 sets of ear tips between, I would say this is more like an SS to L. So you have basically all sizes that would be relevant to you. Let me just remove the SS. There's the SS, as you can see. And the material is, as you can see, relatively thin. It's pretty soft and squishy. And as you can also see, the actual mounting mechanism here is a bit recessed on the inside. So this basically is a tip for a deep insertion. And this is a problem for this IEM, but we tackle that when we talk about comfort. But generally, I do like these ear tips. They are very comfortable. They stay nicely in my ear. They are relatively smooth. So I highly doubt anybody will have problems with this ear tip. And as a nice bonus, you can basically mount them on any other IEM you want because they come in all 4 sizes. So I can see some people probably using this tip on other IEMs just because it's so small and it should fit basically every IEM you have there. And yeah, for this price point of like 20 bucks, or I skipped that at the beginning, it's roughly 20 bucks. I'm not sure how the exact price point would be. I have asked twice, but they were not sure what the exact price point would be. But they told me it's around in the 20 bucks region here. So we talk about the super budget IEM. And as we saw in the picture here, this is how it's looking. And this is how we get it in real life. So you can see this bad boy is tiny as hell. It's one of those things where I'm not sure if the camera can capture how small it is in real life. Basically, it's smaller than the T2 or T3, like it's even smaller than that. So whether they even managed to cramp in a replaceable connector here is pretty cool in my opinion. Yeah, I think we directly come from packaging accessories, which for the price I find pretty good. Presentation is nice. Yeah, ear tips are nice. We come to IEM Build. First, as you saw, I struggled a bit. Because this is a very tight 2-pin connector, which on one hand is nice because yeah, it should last pretty long. On the other hand, well, you have to be really careful when removing it. I don't think I removed it in the unboxing because I didn't want to damage it. So yeah, that's a small issue here. It's very tight, but not an actual issue. And I think another thing where it directly can get out of the way, well, you don't know what is up and down with this one. You don't know which orientation it goes. That's why they thought about it and they included a plus and minus print here. Another issue is more if you see this cable here. It doesn't say where plus and minus is either. So it's something, if you know where plus and minus is on your cables, you might be able to replace it. If you don't know, you just don't know. And how I solved this issue, basically, I checked out what the indication is here, like where's the L indicator and bar indicator, in which direction does it show, and then I know which one is the minus, which is, yeah, here you can see L is pointing towards minus. So I also kept it like that with the right side, or yeah, and that does seem to work. So if you want to replace the cable, yeah, this might be a bit difficult. This is my main complaint about the build here, because everything else is very nice. This is 2 parts of aluminium, they glued very nicely together. Nothing rattles, nothing has any seams that I could see. And pressure hole at the bottom here is relatively big. I'm not sure if there's a mesh inside, it's difficult to assess. but it's not that big. And yeah, another one is here at the front, and this one looks like it has a mesh inside. So I suppose there's probably also one here, we just don't see it because it's black. And the actual 2-pin connector you can see ever so slightly extruded here, but really just so you have a flat surface basically. It's not color matched, which is not an issue because you don't really see it at all. And it seems to be integrated well, like it didn't rock around when I removed the cable, just basically stayed exactly how it was. And then last but not least, the front mesh here. You can literally see through directly to the driver in this shot here. So there's no dampening filter, which we talk about later on, we talk about sound. But actually gluing here is be done very nicely. I see no glue residues. It seems to be in place very nicely. Which means, yeah, for the price of about 20 bucks, this is very nicely built IEM. It feels definitely more solid than quite a few of the KZs I've tried at this price point. And I'm pretty sure it will survive basically everything you're doing with it. Because it's also relatively light, but not that light that you feel like, oh, it's flying away. No, you notice it still is like metal and feels good in the hand. And then next, let's talk about the cable. Whoop. Cable, here we come. And let me start at the bottom here, of the cable. You can see this is braided cable. It's pretty damn smooth, as you can see if you just put it like this. This is what I like to see. Cable thickness is relatively thin without being like that thin. I would call it thin. There's a strain release at the bottom, which does release strain. I like to see that. 90-degree angled connector here, and as you can see, this is a 4-pin because it uses a microphone. And yeah, it's relatively smooth without logo, but because it's 90 degree, you can still easily grab it, which is nice. And then we directly go to the splitter here, which is matching the style. And then on top here, you get 2 cables that are no more braided, that are just rubberized. Let's quickly see its thickness. So you can see slightly thinner, but still this doesn't feel too fragile. And unlike some blonde cables, you can see nicely smooth again. Again, very nice job for a budget IEM of this price point. Chin slider, which slides without much friction whatsoever. And I guess it would still be able to stay in place because this rubber is sticky. But you see the inline remote here. It's a bit too far up or too far down. That means I can't get the chin slider to stay where it would make sense because this is preventing it. The chin slider is supposed to be somewhere at this orientation here in order to stay in place. It's just always a bit too low. And I guess next time what I would recommend with this cable, put it a bit further down the chin slider, the inlines controls, and then put the chin slider on top or push it more up so the chin slider can still be used. Because at the moment it's basically useless. But the actual inline controls here are integrated nicely. This is again an aluminum cylinder, which at this price point is very impressive. Mic, you can see here at the back. The actual buttons feel nice to have a nice pressure point. And I didn't have any problems with this. It's definitively working on the devices I tried it on. Which doesn't say it works on all dongles, because some dongles don't support inline controls. But some dongles do, like the Apple dongle. So yeah, it worked nicely there. And then last but not least, the actual ear hooks here. You can see this is relatively thick rubberized, and that means it's very springy. And I guess with the bending radius being pretty much average without being big or small, this shouldn't be an issue for some people, for most people. But some people that have bigger ears, this might be a bit small for you, and this could apply pressure hotspots on the back here. And then, yeah, the connector here is again aluminum shell, R indicator or L indicator, nicely readable. And overall, I do think the cable is pretty good for the price point. As I said, my only complaint would be here that you can't use the chin slider, but it's not a big deal. I know most people don't use it. I like to use it, so it's probably just more of a me deal than a you deal. And then next, comfort and fit. So, there's the side that I removed, so it's a bit easier to see my actual problems with this. This IEM is small as hell, as you can see. Let me quickly go my measurements open of my IEM list here somewhere. Because this indeed is tiny. The top cylinder here measures 10.3 millimeters in diameter. The bottom one only 9.3 millimeters. And the overall depth, let me quickly give you a measurement of that, is 1.63 centimeters or 16.3 millimeters. That means it's in very small IEM. It definitely feels smaller than the Tin T2 or the Tin T3 in my memory. Unfortunately, I no longer have them here, so I can't measure them in side-by-side comparison, but it feels smaller. And that means if you have small ears, this will basically fit even the smallest ear. Like even kids' ears should be fine with this, which is nice. But now comes the issue with this. you see this connector that is literally just leaving here in a 90-degree angle outwards in this direction. Well, because it's so short and so small, it inserts really deeply in your ear canal in this direction. So if your ear would be here, basically it inserts like this. It's basically hidden in your ear and you can't really see it. But the problem then is that the cable, because it will go out like this, but because it's not a memory cable, let me again show you the actual cable here. It's literally just straight, or almost straight here. But then the problem is, because the IEM itself is mounted, let's quickly take the side where it is mounted so I don't connect it to the wrong side. Like that, basically. And then, because the cable applies pressure outwards, it pushes the IEM out over time. So I would have liked if the cable would have been angled basically outward like that. That would definitively solve the issue. Or it would be a memory cable. That means if you bend it a bit outward for yourself, it would just stay in place. But as you can see here, it directly springs back, and thereby, while being very comfortable, it just doesn't stay as secure in my ear. And really, it pushes itself out over time with basically every tip I used here. And that brings me then also to the other issue I have, because it's so short, I need to use longer tips. Something like the ST35 here worked nicely for me. But even with this, I still get a feeling, or like, it definitely still pushes itself out over time. And you can definitely solve the issue with the cable here if you just let some hot water run over the cable. Please disconnect your IEM if you want to bend the cable with hot water. Otherwise you might break the IEM. So just run some hot water over the cable without the IEM, and you can probably just bend it a bit outward. That will totally solve the issue for you. I just wish out of the box I would have thought about angling this a bit outwards. Other alternative would have been if they would have added the connector directly in a bit of an angle. But I do understand that this is not really possible with an IEM of this size here. So like it is, it's totally fine. Just slightly outwards bending of the cable would be basically solving all of the issues. So yeah, in verdict, it's very comfortable IEM. I don't have any issues with the way how it fits. It's just, it pushes itself out over time. And then next we come to isolation. And as you can see, it's tiny again. So that means it doesn't isolate that well. Even with foam tips, I would say this definitively isolates below average. And that means I wouldn't really wear this in loud environments. It's just not enough in terms of isolation. So that's it basically. I don't have anything more to say about isolation. Like, I really, even some medium busy streets, I didn't like to wear this. It's just not good enough. Overall, like, if you would give you an artificial decibel rating, I would say maybe minus 10 decibels at best. So really not that great. Drivability, this clocks in at 18 ohms, which unfortunately I can't tell you at how many decibel per milliwatt, so I don't really know how efficient it is, but judging from my ear, it is relatively efficient for a single DD set, but not as efficient as some other of the better single DD sets. The Moondrop stuff, for instance, I have the feeling is a bit more efficient than this, so I noted overall I would give this like 85 to 80% capability on the random Apple dongle. Upping the power to something like the up 5 or something, I don't have the, here, Force the Audio DS2, definitively gets you a bit better details in my opinion, and a slightly improved bass and imaging, but it's not a lot. So don't worry about drivability with this one, you will be fine with a random dongle. And then next, general sound characteristics, and let's just say this definitively is a reshaped IEM, considerable amounts of mid and upper bass, combined with considerable amounts of lower and mid treble, making this, definitively a bright reshaped set. And when we directly start with treble here, and I think I would directly compare this to the Nuo in basically all aspects, and it's relatively easy to see, I think, for you that this is definitively too bright. But one thing I really want to get out of now when we talk about treble, because the balance is overall kept, and to my ear, you can see the channel imbalance at like 6 decibel, at 6 kilohertz. I think this is more in line with the red measurement here. This is, I think, the right side. So to my ear, the 6K peak is more, like the red measures, not like the green. And I don't really perceive the imbalance here, I have to confess. I think this might just be a measuring artifact, at least to my ear. So that means it is very bright, but at least the balance is kept overall. And that means usually it comes off as very treble forward, I would say. but it also lacks a bit in the upper treble, as you can also see in the graph. So something like the Nuo definitively does this a bit better. You have a bit better training ends, a bit better leading edges defined. But for the price point of 20 bucks, honestly, this is absolutely fine. I don't really have complaints here. As I said, it is overall too bright in the treble, and the peaks might be too much for some. But to me, for somebody who likes treble, this is just tolerable. Like, I can listen to this, but I'm always on the volume wheel, just not nibbing it down always a bit. I was like, a bit less is also okay. Okay, it gives me still a bit less energy. But if it's just the right loudness, basically, I can listen to this. And yeah, mid treble, as you can see, it has a dip at like 4.5K and then a peak at like 6K. And this also resolves to such in my ear, combined with the 9K peak later on. And yeah, this is why this still works for me, because the overall balance is kept. 3K is above 6K, which in turn is above 9K. That's exactly how balance should be if you're going for bright sets, to my personal taste at least. If you don't like bright, I think this actually won't be for you, and you can probably just fix it with EQ, but we talk about this later on. And this brings me to lower treble upper mids, and as you can see in comparison to Nuo, well yeah, this is very bright also at 3K. But again, let me stress, during to the balance after that, it doesn't come off as bad as it measures. For the price point, I would still accept this, but now come to a point where I would say, yep, you could literally see the driver through this. You can literally see it through here in the video, like you literally see it. So why not just put a dampening foam in the front? Give it some dampening. This would definitely bring down the entirety of the treble by, let's say, 3 decibels and make it way more in line with what the Nuo is. Because the Nuo is measuring really nicely, it sounds really nice. I still have it here. And yeah, with a bit of dampening foam in the front, I think this would be a very good sounding IEM. As it is, it's just a bit bright. And that translates to the mids. The mids for the price are rock solid. They're a bit better than I expected when I saw the measurements initially, and I didn't really notice them being that recessed as they measure, because you can see, yeah, also the bass, just bleeds into the mids. And they are not as recessed as it might look like, but they're definitively not forward at all. So if you do like yourself a bit more forward mids, this definitely won't be for you. As I said, it's V-shaped overall. Yeah, so there isn't much I can say about the mids. They're solid for the price point, absolutely acceptable again. And yeah, bass on the other hand, it sounds very round and very full, but it also doesn't sound well defined, and it doesn't really slap or slam as much as other sets that I have heard. And yeah, I mean, there isn't much negative I can say about the bass here. It's totally fine for a reshaped set. There's even something positive I want to mention in my benchmark tracks, Mountains for the Interstellar one. Well, this managed actually really nice sub-bass rumble. It's one of those things where really, if you have a sub-bass note that still rumbles ever so lightly, this one managed to maintain it very nicely, and it's one of the best sub-bass sets I have heard in a longer time out there. Doesn't matter about the price point, just the sub-bass rumble itself was maintained so nicely. So if you are just after sub-bass, this will definitely give you what you want. It does this pretty well. And again, this light roll-off here that the measurements indicate, I just can't perceive it. Like, it's just not perceivable to my ear. Come back to my benchmark track, it manages 2.15 minutes, which is above average on my artificial scale here. The best thing I've heard is 2 minutes 16 in the sub-bass drop. So again, for those who have not watched my reviews, in Mountains there's a sub-bass note that starts at like 50 or 60 hertz, and then it rolls off all the way to 20 hertz at about 2 minutes 16, and that's the perceivable limit for humans, for most of us at least. And this one managed 2 minutes 15, which is above average overall. So yeah, next, Soundstage, layering, and imaging. And I would say here the Photon Pro is pretty average. It's not bad, it's not good, it mostly has 3 layers, it has a bit of stage but not too big, and it's absolutely price appropriate here. Imaging wise, it's also absolutely adequate. I didn't have any complaints. You can game with this. Personally, I would still use another set for it, but you can absolutely make it work. This image is well enough overall, and it's not as hazy as other sets, even at more expensive price points. Then next, separation, dynamics, and coherence. And I mean, this continues here kinda okay. I think a bit worse than in the other technical department. It separates decently enough without being too much separated, but also without being too mushy. And I would definitely say the Nuo easily beats this in terms of separation. Like, it's not even close there. And dynamics, I mean, yeah, they are on par with the Nuo, but due to the better separation and the better coherence, I absolutely take the Nuo in this department here. Because you can see due to the treble here, it comes off as unnatural, it comes off as a bit grainy. The overall timbre is definitely on the more metallic side, and I would again very much take the Nuo over this in terms of timbre. But again, now come to a verdict. Let me stress, from price point of 20 bucks with the decent cable that it comes with the good build, and with the nice accessories or like very nice ear tips, this is not bad, honestly. I would say this is price appropriate overall in terms of tuning. My personal issue with this is why I'm not recommending it. It's still too bright for probably 90% of people. And if I would just have added a small tuning form on the front here, I think you could have easily fixed this. You could have brought this down to about how the Nuo is, just a bit, tiny bit brighter, which would most likely work for basically all people. So that's why I'm just like, it's price appropriate, sure. I just would spend like $2-3 bucks more and get the Nuo or something similar. And when this is recorded, there's a sale on Linsol at the moment, where you can get something like the Singolo for 30 bucks approximately, which is definitively slapping way harder price performance wise than this one. But if it's not on sale, it would be way more expensive. So overall, I would say, yeah, this is price appropriate. And if you want something really small, this could work for you. Just put some EQ on it, just lower everything past 3 kHz by like 3 decibels and you will be okay. That's it, hope you enjoyed it. Questions, recommendations or criticisms, please leave a comment. Donspektor out.